welcome back to another video, and in today's video we are going to be doing another update of Washington Dulles International Airport. And in today's update we're going to be doing a United focused update, so that means all of the aircraft at the terminal will be United. This is essentially an update based on concourses C and D at Dulles, as opposed to our usual updates which are based on concourses A and B. One really good thing about this update is we finally have all of these 767-400s in this update, so I can't wait to get to them. But for now we're going to be starting off here with this United Airbus A321neo. United have a lot of these on order. They have 170 A321neos on order, with a further 50 A321 XLRs on order as well. Of course they've started to receive their first few A321neos now, but they're nowhere near to getting their entire fleet of 170. Their final A321neo is going to be delivered in 2032, so we're a long way off from these being literally everywhere, but they will be literally everywhere soon enough. At the moment I believe these are primarily being based from Chicago O'Hare, but I believe we have had the A321neo a couple times into Dulles. So for now this A321neo is going to be heading out to Chicago O'Hare in Illinois. However, I'm sure that these aircraft are going to be based from Dulles in the future, flying out to not only US destinations but also European ones as well, as these will be replacing the 757s. So that'll be pretty cool. Next up here we have this United Boeing 757-300. This is the longer variant of the 757 as opposed to the -200, and this one is very rare. Only a handful of airlines actually operate this aircraft. So United and Delta are the largest operators, and then you also have Icelandair and Condor that operate some. However, I believe that all the 757-300 operators around the world have a retirement date set for these aircraft. For United, both the 757s and the 767s have been stated that they will be retired by 2030. The 767s are going to be replaced by the 787s, whereas the 757s will be replaced by the A321neo and the A321 XLR. But this United Boeing 757-300 is going to be heading out to Los Angeles in California. After that, here we have the Boeing 767-400. Again, the -400 variant of the 767s. These are quite rare, however they are operating a lot into Washington Dulles. United only have 16 of these in operation, but I would say that the majority are probably based from Washington Dulles along with Newark, and these are operating to some pretty interesting destinations. As I said, we have all of my 767-400s that I ordered in today's update, so that's 3 of them. So we will go through some of their really interesting destinations, but this first one is going to be heading out to Sao Paulo in Brazil. This is a flight I've taken, however, on the -300 of the 767. However, at the moment this flight I believe is being operated on the 767-400. So this one is going to be heading out to Sao Paulo. Next up here we have the -300 variant of the 767. United have a lot more of these -300s in their fleet than the -400s, but this aircraft is going to be heading out to one of United's newest destinations from Washington Dulles, which is Venice in Italy. Next up here, sporting the older color scheme, we have this United Boeing 757-200. This aircraft is going to be making the trek out to Lisbon in Portugal today. And then back to the 767-400s. Here we have our second one of the update. This one is going to be making the very long domestic flight out to Honolulu in Hawaii. This is a route I would love to take one day. It's a domestic route, as I said, but again it's like 10 hours long. I would love for Hawaiian to start service to Dulles, maybe on board the 787. But for now, this is our only Hawaiian flights that we get here at Dulles. So this 767-400, as I said, is going to be heading out to Honolulu. And after that, we have our third United Boeing 767-400, and this one is going to be heading out to Edinburgh in Scotland in the UK. This flight is, it switches between the 757 and the 767. We do of course get this service probably more commonly on the 757, but the 767 and more importantly the 767-400 has been known to fly this route over to Edinburgh in Scotland. Of course, eventually I would imagine that the A321 will take over this route, but for now we have this 767-400 heading over to Edinburgh. Next, moving over to United Express, here we have this United Embraer E175 arrived in from Providence, Rhode Island, and is going to be heading out to Indianapolis in Indiana. Next, we have another United Express Embraer E175 arrived in from Cincinnati, Ohio, and is going to be heading out to New York LaGuardia. And last, for the Embraers, we have another United Express Embraer E175 arrived in from Charlotte, North Carolina, and is going to be heading out to Toronto in Canada today. And then moving on to the RJs here, we have a selection of 6 RJs, 3 CRJ 200s on the left and 3 CRJ 550s on the right. Again, I really want to get to the new livery ERJ 145s with the winglets. I think they look amazing. I cannot wait to get them and add them into some of these updates, but for now we have the CRJs. So starting off here on the left with the CRJ-200s, starting off at the top, that CRJ-200 has arrived in from Harrisburg in Pennsylvania and is going to be heading out to Albany in New York. In the middle we have another CRJ-200 arrived in from Dayton, Ohio, and is going to be heading out to Huntsville in Alabama. And finally, closest to the camera, we have another CRJ-200 arrived in from Columbia in South Carolina, and is going to be heading out to Charlottesville in Virginia. And next here, moving over to the CRJ-550, starting off at the top, we have a 550 that's arrived in from Richmond, Virginia, and is going to be heading out to Philadelphia in Pennsylvania. In the middle, we have one that's arrived in from Buffalo in New York and is going to be heading out to St. Louis in Missouri. And finally, closest to the camera, we have a CRJ-550 arrived in from Burlington in Vermont and is going to be heading out to Portland in Maine. Then next, moving around to the mainline domestic aircraft, here we have this United Boeing 737-900ER, and this one is going to be heading out to Denver in Colorado. We then have a United Boeing 737-800. This one is going to be heading out to Miami in Florida. We have a United Boeing 737 MAX 8. This aircraft is going to be heading out to St. Thomas. We have a United Airbus A319. This one's going to be heading out to Dallas in Texas. And last, for the domestics, we have this United Boeing 737-900. This one is going to be heading out to Fort Lauderdale in Florida. And then moving back over to the big boys, here we have this United Boeing 777-200. This is the non-ER variant of the 777-200. I don't have a new livery 777-200ER, so I'm using this one instead, but this one is going to be heading out to London Heathrow. Again, the non-ERs tend to stick to domestic flights, so these would head out to San Francisco, Denver, Los Angeles, but I'm using this essentially as an ER today, and this one is going to be heading out to London. Next up here, we have United's largest aircraft sporting the older color scheme. This is the Boeing 777-300ER, and this aircraft is going to be heading out to Brussels in Belgium. Typically, we don't get the -300 into Dulles that often, but when we do, it's typically operating one of 2 routes, and that's either Brussels or Frankfurt. Next up here, also sporting the older color scheme, we have this United Boeing 787-8. We don't really get many of the -9s or the -10s here at Dulles. They are a very rare occurrence to see. However, the -8s here, we get a fair few of these. They operate a few interesting flights. They operate some domestically. You'll see them heading out to Denver and San Francisco, as well as the odd European flights like Rome or Paris. But the ones that really interest me are the African destinations. All of the African destinations that United serve from Dulles are relatively new. They've all started within the last few years. You've got Cape Town, which is operated on the 777-200ER. That's a very long flight. But the ones that really interest me are the Central African destinations United fly, and they're all operated on the 787-8. United fly out to Lagos in Nigeria, Accra in Ghana, and Dakar in Senegal. Accra and Lagos started in 2023, and then the Dakar route is starting this year in 2024. But I recently had some family that took the flights from Washington Dulles over to Accra. So for their sake, this United Boeing 787-8 is going to be heading out to Accra in Ghana. Next up here, we have another United Boeing 777-200. Again, not an ER variant, but I'm going to be using this essentially as an extended range variant. And this one's going to be heading out to Frankfurt in Germany. Again, I cannot wait to get some new livery ERs so I can actually have a realistic representation out to these destinations. And then last but not least here for the terminal, we have this United Boeing 757-200. This one is going to be heading out to Dublin in Ireland. Again, another route that in the future will be operated on the A321. And then last but not least here, just taxiing out to the runway, we have this United Boeing 737 MAX 8. This aircraft is going to be heading out to San Diego in California. And just like that, that does conclude today's update of Washington Dulles International Airport. I hope you enjoyed, and with that, I will see you in the next one. Bye.